In the village of Martyr Warren, the fight between the locals and a caravan of travelers leads to murder. Can Barnaby and Troy solve the case before all their suspects leave town? We're talking wife swapping.
The history of travelers.
And when Barnaby gets thick in this episode of
Welcome to Midsomer.
Hello and welcome to Midsomer, the podcast where we dissect all the mysteries, the murders, and the many weird things about the long-running hit TV show, Midsomer Murders. I'm your host, Eric Buscher, and with me as always is my co-host, Eileen Becker. Hey, Eileen.
Hey, Eric. Since we're being so enthusiastic.
Hey! Gotta pump it up when you gotta pump it up when the episode's not your favorite.
We're talking about Blood Will Out, the fourth episode of the second series. It originally aired on September 19th, 1999. It was directed by Maura Armstrong and written by Douglas Watkinson. Let's get our chariots ready.
Spoiler warning, we will be discussing the events of this episode, including the identity of the murderer. So if you haven't watched it yet and don't want to know who done it, pause this and go watch it. We will still be here when you get back.
Bad news. For someone here.
It's a quiet morning in Martyr Warren as traveler Orville Tudway strolls through the center of the village with his horse-drawn carriage. He stops off at the general store owned by Peter Fairfax, who received a letter for Orville several months back that makes Orville quite angry. Orville then shows up at the property of Muriel and Will Saxby, who are arguing about Will's daughter Fleur. They give Orville permission to stay on their property along with a couple of friends. Now, after John Barnaby fails at getting nice-fitting trousers, Joyce and Cully put him on a strict diet, with Troy watching how he eats in the field. His cabbage soup is interrupted by a call from Magistrate Hector Bridges, who reports a stolen goose. Bridges, along with his wife Jenny and her daughter Fleur, live next door to the Saxbys, and he claims Orville stole the goose. They talk to Orville, who is busy welcoming a large group of fellow travelers to the Saxby property, which makes Muriel obviously very upset. Orville says a goose jumped into his arms and died, which doesn't amuse Barnaby. They learn that Hector is the most hated man in the village, and someone tried to run him over 7 years ago. Local farmer Tilly Dinsdale arrives to let the police know that more travelers are camping at the church. Barnaby introduces Troy to the Smith clan, who have a history of petty crimes. There's Michael, his sister Rachel, and their grandpa John. Barnaby tells them to keep their noses clean until they leave, but the church is common property, so the travelers have the right to stay there. That night, Barnaby is woken by a phone call alerting him that Hector and some of his ex-military buddies are up to no good. He and Troy go to the Bridges, where they are planning to attack the travelers. Barnaby warns them not to do it and tells Hector he will be alerting the Lord Chancellor, so they back off. The next day, Fleur asks Orville if she can leave the village with him when he moves on. She is desperate to escape, and Hector refuses to pay for her to go to America. But Orville says Fleur has a bright future and shouldn't end up like the travelers. Meanwhile, Barnaby is called back by Hector because the Smiths have organized a chariot race through the village, which seems like a source of enjoyment for everyone who isn't named Tilly or Hector. Now, Hector goes home and loads a shotgun for some reason when Orville angrily interrupts him. He tells him about the letter he received from one John Lampson and demands Hector read it. We don't see what happens, but we do see Tilly feeding her pigs when she hears a gunshot. As the detectives enjoy the race, they are called to the Bridges' home where Hector has been murdered. Bullard says he was shot in the chest and that the shotgun appears to be missing. Hector's belt is found on the floor, but they don't know why. No one other than Tilly seems to be mourning Hector too much. Jenny says the killer did her and Fleur a favor, even though they stole an antique wine cooler. Muriel says she heard the shot and ran to the house where she found the body and claims she saw a younger man with brown hair running away from the scene of the crime holding the gun in the cooler. So Hector was married to Muriel and Jenny was married to Will, and at some point they swapped spouses. Barnaby reveals he knows that Fleur is the one who called him about the attack on the travelers. The detectives discover Orville served with Hector in the Falklands, then left the army and became a traveler. Cully mentions that she went to school with one Stefan Miller, who was arrested for stealing a motorbike and sentenced to 3 months by Hector, and swore he would kill him. Stefan is currently working in Fairfax's store and looks similar to Muriel's description of the suspect. They go to his home to talk to him, but he runs out the door. Barnaby just shouts that they will search the place without him, so Miller comes back and denies being involved. Then Michael and John Smith come and threaten Miller, who is seeing Rachel. Barnaby tells the Smiths to stay away from him. That night, Tilly, her sister Felicity, and Fairfax are at the Tisdale farm where they hear men stealing a pig. They shoot at the thieves, winging one and chasing the rest off. Tourist info. This is our first and only trip to Martyr Warren, a lovely village that has some wide open spaces great for camping. There's also some spectacular views of what people get up to, but you have to climb to the roof of the church just to see them. Watch out when you walk around. You never know when you might be in the middle of a chariot race.
Standing in for Hector Bridges Manor House is Harpsden Court, whose foundation dates from 1204. Located on the outskirts of Henley-on-Thames, most of the current house dates back to the 17th century while incorporating parts of the medieval house. It was also used in the filming of Ghosts of Christmas Past and The Dead of Lies, as well as in the films The Woman in Black and Jude. According to Architectural Digest, it was listed for sale in 2016 for over $10 million.
So Jenny would get a nice cut.
And
Muriel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I love finding these places on Google Maps and seeing it. And you can see exactly how they shot all these scenes because the church is right there. It's actually on the grounds of the manor house and everything. So it's actually kind of fun to see how they do it.
All right, so this is a second series episode, which means these are still sort of slightly longer, almost a minute, like an hour and 45 minutes, which means these episodes really have a lot of time to do stuff. And yet this episode was a really slow start. We didn't even get the first murder until after the 30-minute mark.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird because you're saying, why are our homicide team investigating petty crimes and things? Because they have to get them involved early on. Yeah.
I kind of understood that because Hector's a magistrate and you have to kind of go do what when the judge calls, you have to kind of go and make the judge happy. But yeah, it's very weird. It's still something Barnaby would just send Troy for.
Yeah, normally. Yeah.
Also, this is still that point where they're using illustrations during the credits, which when you see that now, it makes honest to me. I know this was in was it 2000, 2001?
1999.
1999. That feels like something you would see on a mystery from the 80s.
Yeah. And it makes it gives it that kind of more cozy feel, the cozy mystery feel to it than really Midsomer is. It does have because it is set in, these villages and stuff. So it does have a little bit of the cozy, but it is also it's not a real police procedural because you don't get a whole lot of police procedure in it, but it is a, police. I mean, basically it's kind of a police cozy, which is not all that cozy.
And this is one of those rare Midsomers, although this did kind of happen more in the earlier years until they found sort of their niche. There's no strange kill in this. The murders are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
The main victim in the first half is Hector. As I said, is a magistrate we get the sense that he is kind of corrupt. He's very much an old guard of old Britain, along with the Tisdales, who hate anything that's new or different or traveler related. And I thought it was interesting that they kind of believe that Barnaby was one of them. And that's something that has popped up in the past, is that the old guard believes Barnaby is one of them, and Barnaby is not.
No. And he makes it very clear in many of the episodes that he knows how to work with the rich and the landed gentry kind of people, and he will suck up to them when it serves his purposes, but he's not one of them.
Hector, he's described at one point as having something of the night of him, which basically means after a few drinks he likes to get abusive.
Yeah.
He has a very bad relationship with his wife, and that one scene where he's trying to tentatively fix it, he's not great at that.
No. And again, some excellent acting in this one, and that scene is just, that scene has been played out in many households where The marriage is just done. One of them knows it and the other one doesn't.
Yes.
And it's beautifully, I think it's a very well written scene and very well played.
I do kind of wonder why Jenny is so compliant when he is abusive to Fleur.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny didn't strike me as the type who would have been okay with that. So that struck me as a little weird, but we could talk about that more in the second half.
Yeah.
Hector hates the travelers, or as the Didacoys, as he likes to call them, or rats,
Yeah.
that he brings in his former military buddies to commit assault.
Mm-hmm.
They are literally planning to illegally raid and attack all these travelers, which, by the way, is men, women, and children.
Yeah.
Which is messed up.
Yeah, he's
really going for that hated man in the village award.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's not a great person. You
No.
kind of don't mourn his loss.
And Barnaby manages to get him to back down.
Mm-hmm.
As Jenny says, Barnaby catches Hector red-handed in the act of being a bully, which was a great line. I think the defining moment of that scene was when Hector is telling Barnaby that he should turn a blind eye, and Barnaby just looks at him and I'm not that kind of copper.
Yeah. I think that's a really great moment. Yeah.
Like when Barnaby just looks at him and delivers that line, I thought that was a great line reading.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not someone who's going to turn a blind eye to when Hector does this stuff. He will turn a blind eye to breaking and entering if it serves his purposes.
Yeah. He does turn his a blind eye to a few things, especially in the I investigate murders, and that's not and that little marijuana thing you've got going on there is not my job.
Barnaby is not a bent copper. He just has some dings in him.
Yeah.
The first half also has the big chariot race, which I have to say is, despite everybody on screen seeming to enjoy whatever that was the least interesting chariot race since the 2016 remake of Ben-Hur that nobody watched.
I didn't even know there was one.
Yep. It's what almost killed Jack Houston's career.
I've been to harness races because I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky. So, we used to go to the Red Mile, and in the US, those chariots are called sulkies for Americans who are wondering, they're not in, Ben-Hur kind of chariots. They are in what we call sulkies. I don't find them all that interesting races to begin with. I kind of prefer a good old thoroughbred race where they're sitting on the back of the horse.
I also feel that because it seemed to be the travelers doing it, and that they had a giant board for taking bets and odds.
Yeah.
That I think there's a version of this script where we find out that the race was all just a scam for them to rip people off. Right?
You're falling into those stereotypes, Eric.
I mean, the episode lays on the stereotypes of them very thick.
Yeah.
Like the only ones we find out are the Smiths, who are petty criminals, and Orville, who is quite okay with breaking the law and conning his friends when it serves his purposes.
Yeah.
Also, I'm pretty sure I saw some blackface in the crowd.
Yeah, I could not find anything about the face painting. That was weird.
It's only there for a second, but I was like, oh, it's noticeable.
Yeah.
Now, since this chariot race seemed to be started by the travelers, and since that this is a large part of this episode deals with traveler culture, Eileen, you decided to do your history corner on what we basically call travelers, correct?
Yeah. Humans started as nomadic people, moving from place to place as they searched for food. Around 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, the first agricultural revolution took place in several places around the world: Mesopotamia, East Asia, South India, Mesoamerica, and Western and Eastern Africa. As the domestication of animals and the cultivation of crops required more labor than hunting and gathering, large groups of people settled into small communities that sometimes grew into villages, towns, and cities. But some peoples in less fertile areas remained nomadic, as they moved across the steppe, tundra, or desert areas, often driving domesticated livestock with them. Some groups also became nomadic after being displaced or due to droughts or war. The group known as the Irish Travelers, or just travelers, could have arisen from either of these. They are a separate group from the Roma, who first arrived in the British Isles no later than the 16th century and are descended from a nomadic group that originated in northern India. This is the group that was called Egyptians due to their darker skin, which was shortened to Gypsies. The Irish travelers not only have a separate heritage, identity, culture, and language from the settled Irish, but they have a separate genetic identity as well. They call themselves Pavies or Minkers. It is suggested that they could have split from the settled population 1,000 years ago, which suggests that they might be descended from an itinerant Gaelic population based in pastoralism, moving livestock from place to prevent overgrazing, or from peoples displaced after the Norman invasion of Ireland. Other genetic evidence suggests that they descended from a population that was displaced in the middle of the 1650s during the Cromwellian conquest. It's possible they're a mix of people displaced at various times with those who choose an itinerant lifestyle. The Scottish travelers, known as the Knockin, have an oral history that traces them back to the 19th century in Scotland. As with the Irish travelers, they roamed the country doing odd jobs, which gave them the nicknames tinkers or tinklers, or working the land as an itinerant workforce. They were craftspeople, horse traders, musicians, and storytellers. It is estimated that travelers make up less than 1% of the population of Ireland, with about 33,000 identifying as travelers in the 2022 census. There were 16,000 Roma listed in that census as well. In the UK, the 2021-22 census had just under 74,000 identify as Gypsy/Traveler/Irish Traveler, a separate category than Roma, which counted over 100,000. In both censuses, traveler population was probably undercounted. There are also traveler populations in the US, but it's unknown how large they are. Not all travelers move around all year long. Some only travel during the summer and settled in one place during the winter or school term. Some have settled into permanent settlements while still retaining their culture and traditions. Today, while many still travel in their distinctive traveler's wagon, the highly decorated bow-top horse-drawn cart, others travel in modern caravans, what we in the U.S. call RVs or campers. Large extended families are important in the traveler communities. They marry younger than the settled population and have traditionally had larger families. The itinerant lifestyle has meant that they tend not to stay in school as long as the settled population, but that is changing and many are going on to university and professional careers. They also generally have a lower life expectancy, living 10 to 12 years less than the wider population. While they usually speak English, they may also speak a language that linguists call Shelta, but they call Degaman or Tari, also called the Cant. It's a mix of English and Irish languages. The majority of travelers, at least in Ireland, are Roman Catholic. Now, not all itinerant people in the British Isles are ethnically travelers or Roma. Cultural travelers have adopted the nomadic lifestyle, some during the 1960s and 70s, who sometimes call themselves New Age travelers. It grew out of the hippie and free festival movement. There are also barge travelers who live on boats in the UK's 2,000 miles of canals. Others we touched on in Harvest of Souls with the traveling carnivals. This group, called Show People, who are like no people I know, travel around from fun fairs and carnivals. They usually belong to the Showman's Guild and generally have winter quarters where they settle for the colder months. The Irish travelers face a lot of discrimination, often due to the stereotype of them being criminals. Many Scottish travelers were imprisoned, hanged, or deported, and in the late 19th and early 20th century, children were removed from traveler families. Words like gypsy and tinker are falling away as they are seen as slurs. Didikoy, which Hector Bridges calls Orville, is a pejorative for a traveler of mixed or non-Romani heritage. He also calls Orville a thief, and Orville has to defend the travelers who come as clean, bringing up more unfounded stereotypes about the travelers. Slowly, acceptance of travelers and their culture, heritage, and lifestyle is growing as political networking and activism has increased. Several activists and groups have been working to increase public awareness of the travelers, and in 2025, Eileen Flynn became the first female traveler to serve in the Irish Parliament. Other well-known travelers include many boxers, folk musicians, and X Factor winner Shane Ward, whose parents are Irish travelers who settled in England. Actor Sean Connery's paternal great-grandparents were Irish travelers. Depictions in pop culture, such as in the TV shows The Riches and Big Fat Gypsy Weddings, have played into these stereotypes.
I would say that the group in this episode are a mix of sort of the Irish and the New Age, it seemed, right?
It seems so. They never really kind of get into who they are. Uh, it seems like Orville took it up as after the war, as well we find out later in the episode. We don't know if it's because he had traveler heritage, in his past or his
Yeah.
family or not.
Or he's just pulling a Jack Reacher.
Or, yeah.
Leaving the military and just walking around, just gonna go just travel everywhere.
Yep. Righting wrongs and putting the world to right. Yeah. Finding that perfect cup of coffee in a good diner.
Having awkward sex.
that scene should never have been written.
I thought it was interesting as they both wanted it did feel a little bit like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've got some travelers that are criminals, and this, like, they're very clean. Well, some of them look a little dirty. Let's be fair. Like, some of the shots they did dirty up.
Yeah.
The actors, and I think they were like, well, we want to have them in here as suspects, so we have to make them somewhat criminal, but we also don't want to be too stereotypical. So it did feel like a little bit of a muddled or mixed, like a little bit of a grab bag. Hey, we got a little bit of traveler for everybody.
Yeah. I do appreciate them depicting traveler culture, especially in a more modern way. I mean, obviously Orville comes in with the very stereotypical horse-drawn carriage, the wagon with the highly decorated, the red and the green and everything. But everyone else was in the caravans, the modern caravans. So they did depict a more modern culture with the travelers than is often depicted in some of the more stereotypical ones.
Some of them are modern. I'm pretty sure when the Smiths were leaving the village, that truck looked like the Jodes from The Grapes of Wrath. Wherever there's a mark to be swindled, I'll be there.
Yeah, and actually, I did appreciate that they took the time to kind of show that they come to a place and they have their culture and they invite other people into it. They're basically putting on a fair, with a race.
Yeah, like the race, like I said, the race was straight from them, and that's why I do think that there was probably a con involved. I feel the race was rigged.
Well, many may be.
Yeah,
and not just in. Yeah.
All right, you want to take us into cast highlights?
Sure. Trisha George was Orville-loving, Hector-hating Jenny Bridges. Trisha was one of the stars of the Uncle Jack's children's TV series in the early 90s. Uncle Jack was an environmentalist and an MI5 operative who often fought his arch-nemesis, the Vixen, to stop her from trying to take over the world. Uncle Jack was played by Paul Jones, lead singer of the group Manfred Mann, best known for the hit Doo-Wah-Diddy, Diddy-Dum-Diddy-Doo. George played a dim-witted Agent 7 who had helped Jack. George also appeared in Testament of Youth, The Misty Show, and Don't Wait Up.
Yeah, the Uncle Jack series of TV shows just sounded fascinating. And when I found out that it was starred the lead singer of Manfred Mann, I was like, okay, let's dig into this.
John Dutine was Weird Dad Will Saxby. He's appeared in To Serve Them All the Days, Out of the Blue, Paranoid, and Heartbeat. He's married to the actress Mel Martin, who also appeared in Midsomer Murders. Elizabeth Garvey played Not Great with Visitors, Muriel Saxby. Garvey is primarily a stage actress, and this is actually her last major on-screen credit. She is best known for playing Elizabeth Bennet in a 1980 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. That's not the one with shirtless...
No.
Colin Firth, yeah.
No.
She also appeared in Hostage, Jane Eyre, and Diana, Her True Story, which, as you can see, she does have a very Diana resemblance.
Except that's not who she played.
Oh, really?
She played Camilla.
Oh, she played Camilla? Oh, my gosh. That's funny. No. Anyway, she was married to Anton Rogers, who appeared in the Midsomer episode Market for Murder. Rowena Cooper was friend of the Hogs, Tilly Dinsdale. Cooper acted in Crown Court, Rumple of the Bailey, The New Statesman, and Down to Earth. She was married to the actor Terrence Hardiman, who appeared on Midsomer Murder in the episode The Fisher King. Ian Thompson played grieving shop owner Peter Fairfax. Thompson appeared in A Family at War in which appeared a very young John Nettles, County Hall, Inside Story, and as Big Hat Logan in the Dark Souls series of video games. He passed away in 2022. Daniel Betts was Stephen Miller. No, not that one. Is there another Stephen Miller?
I mean, Stephen Miller.
Oh, okay.
Definitely don't get those two confused.
Definitely not, yeah. Betts had appeared. I thought it might be like some kind of like.
No, just big. It's not that one.
Yeah. Betts had appeared in Allied, War Machine, and Fury, all with Brad Pitt, so they must have a good working relationship. In 2024, Betts appeared in Alien Romulus as the actual facial and vocal performer for the character of Rook, an android science officer of the same model that the late Ian Holm played in the original Alien film. To make Rook look like Holmes, the director used Betts, an AI technology, and animatronics, a move which was considered controversial by many fans.
Yeah, it's both for the technology used because using AI, and this is in this would have been in like 23, 24 at the same time as the writer's strike.
Yeah.
And the worries about AI. And they basically did like the character looks like Holmes in the movie. You would not know it's Betts at all. It looks like Holmes. It sounds like Holmes. They did and some people felt that was kind of appropriating Ian Holmes's likeness. Although my understanding is his family okayed it.
Yeah, I did read that they gave him permission. Yeah,
and also it's just, but also like there's it. There was that idea of like, was it really necessary? Like Romulus, I actually saw it in the theaters, and it's a conglomeration of like it's basically how do we take the plot of every single Alien film that we've got and then just jam it all into one movie, right?
Yeah.
And it having like the Ian Holm thing was kind of cool, but when you find out it's not actually Ash, it's this other thing, then you're like, oh, okay.
It sounds like it wasn't necessarily that they kind of wanted to do it for.
Yeah. It's an Easter egg. It's in
Yeah.
a film that is already so much like different plot points jammed in to jammed in from other of the other Alien movies. It was fine. It was really something for the fans, but it didn't really having it be the same. It's still the same kind of characterization of yes, it's an android. It looks human. You can't trust it.
Yeah.
It's a company man.
Yeah. Jerome Willis was con artist grandpa John Smith. Willis's credits include The Sandbaggers, Cartoon, Doctor Who, and Space Precinct. He passed away sadly in 2014. Nick Moran played chariot racing Michael Smith. He appeared in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows 1 and 2, and The Musketeer. He's also a writer and director. Elizabeth Thomas was torn between love and family Rachel Smith. She only has a few credits, including The Beach, Doctors, and Casualty, and we're not sure what she has been up to lately.
Yeah, Elizabeth Thomas is a common name.
Yeah. David Allister played Hector's battling buddy, Major Harry Tompkinson. Allister has appeared in Heil. Is it Heil Caesar?
It's Heil Caesar.
Okay. Allister has appeared. I think I meant to text you to make sure that.
No, it's Heil Caesar. I double checked that.
Okay. Allister has appeared in Heil Caesar, Flesh and Blood, and Doctor Who.
We have a few return visitors. Kevin McNally played ex-military traveler Orville Tudway. Now, McNally was actually a return visitor and a former Village star for his role in the episode The Noble Art. McNally made his screen debut in the acclaimed BBC miniseries I, Claudius, and went on to appear in The Long Good Friday, Entrapment, Sliding Doors, and the Pirates of the Caribbean films.
I think in both of the episodes he has appeared in, I think he has been very, very good and has really set himself at the center of those episodes.
He's a very, very, very good character actor. There's a reason why he's worked steadily for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
And, he was kind of in the contention to be Village star. I just felt like his character just kind of stands around half the time.
He also rides a horse at one point.
Yeah. He also rides Jenny at one point. Paul Jessen was drunken jerk Hector Bridges. He appeared in Talking to the Dead as Linton Parketer, last of the Parketers, and I did not recognize him at all until I started writing the script.
Same. I was astounded, and that's a sign of a really great character actor too. Is that he disappears so much into both of those characters that I never would have known that they were the
Yeah,
same guy.
yeah. Different hair, different face, different
Yeah.
everything. Now, he's appeared in Vera Drake, Mr. Turner, Rome, The Crown, and The Beast Must Die. Phillida Law played the flirtatious Felicity Dinsdale, and we'll see her again in Dark Secrets. Law has had a long career appearing in That's Love, Kingdom, Albert Nobbs, and The Time Machine. She is the mother of the actresses Emma Thompson and Sophie Thompson, and she appeared with Emma in Peter's Friends, Much Ado About Nothing, and The Winter Guest. And I think in a couple of those, she actually plays Emma's mom.
I think so. Yeah.
We will talk definitely more about her when we do Dark Secrets, because I think
Yeah.
she just has such a. It's almost a camp. This almost felt like a favor to Nettles or something like that.
It felt like it too. And she does so much with her scenes. There just aren't really enough of them. I wish that she had had a bigger part.
Yes. Francis Lee was the sassy shop assistant. We will see him again in The House in the Woods. Lee started as an actor, appearing in Me Without You, Topsy Turvy, and Casualty, but he became bored with being an actor and decided to step behind the camera. He's directed 2 highly acclaimed films, God's Own Country and Ammonite, and is currently working on a new film. And I believe God's Own Country actually I think it won an award at Sundance.
Oh, cool.
He is these are very he is a very much acclaimed filmmaker doing films about the LGBTQ experience.
Mhm.
So
They sound really terrific. I'm going to try to check those out.
yes, and a shout out to Brett Raylander, who had an uncredited role as a police sergeant, as well as the unnamed and uncredited people who turned out to watch a chariot race, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, this was a nicely full episode with lots of people.
Yes. Now, our village star this week is Honeysuckle Weeks, who played Just Want to Get Out of Here, Fleur Bridges. Weeks hails from Wales, and her parents named her Honeysuckle because it was blooming and very fragrant when she was born. She started acting at a young age and actually was cast to star in a film called A Far Off Place that was going to be directed by Steven Spielberg. However, he left the film, and Weeks was replaced when the film was actually filmed by some no-name called Reese Witherspoon.
Never heard of her.
Yep. Weeks appeared in Google Eyes, The Wild House, and an episode of The Bill where she was kidnapped by David Tennant. Her longest running role was in Foyle's War, where she appeared in every single episode. Now, in 2015, Weeks was pulled over for speeding while she was already banned from driving because she had way too many points on her license. So a judge basically sentenced her to wear an ankle monitor tracking all of her movements, as well as given a nightly curfew. Unfortunately, that is not the end to her driving incidents. In 2023, she had her license taken away again when she backed into a parked car while driving drunk. Now, before we judge her too harshly, just know that Weeks might have been self-medicating because she has been quite open about her struggles with bipolar disorder. And in fact, in July 2016, she went missing. Her family actually had to report her missing and were very worried about her welfare. Eventually, she was found by police safe and sound. So, quite an interesting life of this woman.
Yes, I think she showed a lot of promise in this role. I'm sad that she has had so many struggles with her mental health, and we wish her the very best in continuing in her recovery.
Best of luck to you, Honeysuckle Weeks. We're going to take a break here and we'll be back with the second half of Blood Will Out. And we're back. Let's talk about the second half of Blood Will Out.
Hector Bridges, Troy, was run over 7 years ago rather convincingly.
Much damage to the car?
They interviewed Peter Fairfax. Runs the village shop. No further action taken. It is a curious thing. Bridges was found by his wife, whose name was Muriel.
Same as Mrs. Saxby. Lunch, sir. I've cut the apples up to make them look like chips.
The next day, Barnaby and Troy visit the Dinsdales to talk about the pig rustling. Barnaby admonished them for shooting at the thieves, but notes that Fairfax not only knew where the gun was, but also had no qualms in firing at another human being. He also was the only named suspect in the attempted murder of Hector years ago. Felicity tells him that Hector used to chase her in her younger days and that he was quite the bully, especially when he was drinking. At the Saxbys, Barnaby asks Will if Hector had been sexually abusing Fleur, and Will says he had heard about that happening years ago. Barnaby also suspects Muriel made up the story of the fleeing suspect to protect Will. Now, next they head back over to the bridges, where they learn Fleur is getting that trip to New York City after all. Barnaby interrogates Fleur rather brutally, claiming she was not a sexual abuse victim and made it up to blackmail Hector, an accusation she denies. Jenny claims that she has no plans to sell the house with Hector gone, but Barnaby recognizes a man working with Jenny as an estate agent, which suggests she's lying. He thinks the Saxbys, the Bridges, and Orville are all working together for some reason. It's a suspicion we see is correct as they meet to discuss Barnaby, and Will tells them that he has a plan that he will do right away that will help them. The detectives learn that years ago, Fairfax was living with a woman named Catherine Hamilton, who was killed by Hector in a car crash. Hector was most likely driving drunk, but had it covered up. Fairfax never met Hector, though, until he moved to the area and discovered Hector was there. But he claims he didn't kill Hector, this time, because he fell for Felicity and he began to rebuild his life. Barnaby goes over to John Smith's caravan to ask him why he saw John going to talk to Stefan, even though Barnaby told him not to. However, they find John dead from a head wound. Bullard says he's only been dead an hour and clearly died in a struggle, hitting his head on the wash basin. They also find the wine cooler in the caravan, but Troy says it was not there when he searched before. Michael goes to Stefan's and attacks him, claiming he killed John, but the detectives pull them apart. Stefan says John asked him to take care of Rachel, since the pair clearly care for each other. Unfortunately, Rachel chooses to go with Michael since they only have each other now. Barnaby says Stefan fits the description of the person seen fleeing Hector's murder, but Stefan says he was working at the store at the time of John's murder, so he has an alibi. Fairfax backs up his alibi, but Fairfax left the shop for about 40 minutes, so Stefan could have had enough time to kill John and plant the cooler. When they originally interviewed Muriel, she said she immediately heard the shot and ran over and found the body at 3:15, which is the time she called the police. However, Tilly tells the detectives she heard the shot at 3. It would not have taken Muriel 15 minutes to get to Hector's. So where is the missing time? Muriel will also get a third of Hector's money. So did she kill him? Troy somehow manages to speak to John Lamson's widow and finally gets the scoop as to what went on in the Falklands. They confront Orville, who tells them that in 1982, Hector was Orville's commanding officer and sent him on a mission that left many of his men dead or wounded. Lamson was dying, but before his death, he wrote Orville to tell him that Hector actually knew that the forces Orville was going to face were much greater than he was informed, meaning Hector sent them to die. But Orville says he didn't want Hector dead. He wanted him brought to justice. He showed Hector the letter, but Hector said people would believe him over Orville. The rest of the caravan at the Saxbys moves on, but Orville stays behind. The Smiths also start to leave town, but Michael tells Rachel that she should go be with Stefan, which she does. Nice. Barnaby puts Troy on a stakeout to watch and see if anyone tries to visit Orville. He then calls the Saxbys and Fleur into the incident room to interrogate them. He says that Muriel has been covering for a killer, but she won't say anything without a solicitor. Fleur says that she is now going to Milan, not America, to stay with Will's cousin. At this point, Barnaby just lets them go because, as he says, he didn't really need to question them at all. He just wanted them away to see what would happen. And what happens is Jenny runs straight over to Orville's wagon and Troy catches them making sweet, sweet love. He arrests Jenny because she claims she killed Hector. Now, the next morning, Barnaby meets with Orville and Jenny in the incident room very early. Jenny says she killed Hector for his money so she could run off with Orville. But Barnaby says she could have divorced him just as easily. Barnaby thinks everyone has been protecting the real killer, who overheard Orville and Hector's fight. And it is revealed that Fleur is the killer, and Barnaby brings her and the Saxbys in so she doesn't skip out to Italy. She told Hector that she wanted the money to leave for America or she would use Orville's letter against him. Now, Hector had been abusing Fleur physically for years, and in this moment, he took his belt off to hit her. Now, in her fear, she grabbed the shotgun and shot him. Now, Barnaby will help Fleur since she is young and is very much a victim herself, but he can do nothing about the murder of John Smith. At this point, Will Saxby reveals that he killed John. When he attempted to plant the cooler, John caught him and they struggled, causing John to hit his head and die. So basically, like father, like daughter. So we had two killers. We had Fleur and her father, Will Saxby. We spend way more time focusing on Fleur. We actually get a flashback to that murder. We do not get anything for poor John Smith.
Yeah. It's almost like that was an unnecessary murder and is kind of like easily forgotten about.
Yeah. Both of them kind of accidental.
Mm-hmm.
One born out of self-defense, one born out of just, Will Saxby's kind of a dip.
Mm-hmm.
So Fleur shoots Hector with the shotgun out of fear that he was going to hit her with his belt. I do think that shot of her splattered in blood was very powerful.
Yeah.
Everyone is covering for Fleur, the Saxbys, Jenny, and Orville. Okay. Now, Muriel is Hector's ex-wife.
Yeah.
And Jenny is Will's ex-wife, and Fleur is Will's... So I think it's interesting that they point out that Jenny is Fleur's daughter. And Will is still her father. But they never kind of indicate that Hector or Muriel are step-parents.
Yeah.
Probably because they still live next door to each other. I think the big question is, did they ever explain why they swapped partners?
No, and that would have been kind of an more interesting than, more on, Barnaby's diet. I think if they had delved into that a little bit more, it would have made for a more interesting episode. I think if they had said, oh yeah, we found out you were, Muriel was, having an affair with Will, and Jenny was having an affair with Hector because they were just close to each other and unhappy in their marriages, and
yeah,
but would have been a more interesting kind of backstory there.
It would have, and it is a very strange thing that it's kind of thrown in our face this entire episode. This weird family unit that is not explained. Like couples, like just swapping straight up. So like that's a TV show.
Yeah,
it's very weird, and it makes a very confusing dynamic.
And
it's almost like they set that up so they could have this weird conspiracy.
Yeah,
as opposed to. Because like when it starts, right, Muriel is like angry that Will was helping Fleur with her bike.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, when she calls, you run. And I'm like, it don't explain for like a good 10 minutes that Fleur is Will's child.
Yeah.
So it looks more like, oh, is Will just like, oh, hot, pretty teenager, I'm going to help her.
Yeah.
No, that's his kid. Why is Muriel jealous of that? They live next door. You'd think she seems to care enough about Fleur to want to help her out. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. And also, it would have been something that would have impacted their motives for murdering Hector. If he had been abusive to Muriel and she still had long, resentment about that. If Will resented Jenny having an affair with him or whatever, if they had fleshed that out, that would have given more depth to the motives in this episode.
Yeah, it's very confusing, and I don't quite understand a lot of it. I think it's interesting they do point out that if they hadn't swapped partners, none of this would have happened. And I'm like, yeah, so why did they?
Yeah. Yeah.
You even say it out loud, but then you don't go through, hey, why did you?
Yeah.
Like Muriel, no offense, Will seems like a bit of a dip.
Yeah.
Jenny, Hector seems like a real jerk.
Yeah. Neither of these guys are worth swapping each other for. I mean, you're going from loser to loser here, ladies.
They both chasing Orville.
Yeah.
The lovable, sexy rogue.
Yeah. I would have much rather have gone off with Orville.
I think it's interesting is that, like, you can that even though Fleur is Will's child, that her behavior seems much more like Hector's. Her desire to try to blackmail people to get what she wants.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to get out.
Yeah.
Right? But she does try to blackmail Hector. She tries to blackmail Jenny. She goes and begs Orville,
Yeah.
and you get that nice scene that Orville's like, no, you actually are someone with a lot of promise,
Yeah.
and we're all just marking time.
Yeah. And that's a really great scene.
Mhm.
And I do like the way he calls her out on being transactional with her relationships.
Yes.
The way Hector is.
Yeah. And I think it's that scene alone where he points out that she has such promise, which makes the ending a little more tragic.
Yeah.
She's the killer, and she's going to have to, this is going to, no matter what happens, her life is kind of destroyed by this.
Yeah.
Like, there's no going back.
Yeah.
What did you think of the scene where Barnaby is questioning Fleur about the sexual abuse?
As we've seen in many other episodes, he's often very, very good at interrogating vulnerable suspects. He's not good in this episode at doing that.
No, he is so convinced that she's lying
Mm-hmm.
that he never considers the possibility that he doesn't understand what abuse means.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it is a term with multiple definitions, Mr. Barnaby.
Yeah. And even just psychological abuse,
Yes.
can be devastating to people, as we've seen. Yeah.
Yes. And he treats her with the subtlety of an Elliot's. He needs to be more of a Benson and less of a Stabler.
Mm.
He's coming in like a Stabler. And if you don't know what we're referring to, you've not seen 20 years of SVU.
Which I haven't, so I wasn't sure about that.
Benson is the empathetic one. Stabler is the half-cocked loony.
Okay. Yeah, and it's unusual for Barnaby, and give him that sugar. He needs it.
Yeah,
he's cranky.
I just think that he was. I think it's. I do think, and we'll talk about this in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there is. This is second season. They are still trying to iron out a little bit about how now that they're off the books.
Yeah.
How is Barnaby's character?
Yeah.
And I think this episode you can see them trying some wrong avenues.
Yeah.
I also was curious. Now, there's a point where Barnaby is questioning Muriel, right?
Mm-hmm.
He really should bring her for interrogation, but then he just leaves her be.
Yeah.
And I feel as like he's just kind of like, he's basically said, I think you could be a murderer, and I'm just going to let you go do whatever it is to cover up.
Yeah, and when he gives her 24 hours to come up with a plausible lie, which she can't. So she just says, "Oh, I'm not doing anything without my lawyer present," which is the smart thing to do, by the way. Yeah. Anybody suspected of a crime.
But you know what's dumb?
Yeah.
Her description of the suspect.
Yeah.
Might as well just say it was some guy.
Yeah.
He had legs and some hair.
Said, I couldn't really get a good look at him. He may have had dark hair, but it was hard to tell. I just caught a glimpse of him.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like when you lie, like people think the more elaborate the lie you tell,
yeah,
the better it is, as opposed to the more elaborate lie you tell, the more you're going to get caught.
Yeah.
The best lies use the truth. Like, she didn't see anybody running away. She should have just said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought Barnaby's maneuver was very smart to put the Saxbys into interrogation.
Mm-hmm.
But did you think it was weird as hell that, like, in all of this murder investigation, that's right when Jenny and Orville decide sex is a great idea? Finally, we're alone with all this murder investigation.
Yeah.
Let's get it in.
Yeah.
Also, Orville, you can just move the wagon onto her property now.
That is true.
Thought it was interesting that they had the choice that they're making a big. They were so worried that they had Fleur was going to have this morning flight to Milan to get away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're so nervous about checking the watches and everything like that. And I was just thinking, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure Milan's a extradition country.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you would have gotten her back pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's not like they weren't at that part of they were part of the EU even, so I don't think it would have even been that big of a deal to get her back from another country.
It was very strange, very strange. As well as Fleur at one point, her outfit that she has chosen matches her bike. It's my special bike outfit.
We all have those, okay?
Oh, you do? What's your bike outfit?
Actually, I don't even have a bike right now. I need to get one. Yeah.
Haha. Let's take a moment to talk about Orville, who,
Mm-hmm.
as we mentioned by Kevin McNally, is a very likable character.
Mm-hmm.
Even Barnaby likes him, and Barnaby knows that he's mixed up in all of this.
Yes.
He's is at times brooding and dark, and at times so over the top.
Yeah.
Like that scene where he describes the goose just jumped into my arms and died.
Yeah.
Also, when he sees Fairfax for the first time, he just walks right up to him and starts smacking him in the belly, going, "Look at you, you put on weight, you fatty."
Yeah. I would have liked a little more backstory of his connection to the town because he obviously has a very long connection there.
Yeah.
Um, and you don't really get that, maybe he grew up there and that's how he knows everybody, or does he just come by every once in a while and he's just been doing this for the last, however long, 17 years since the war ended, he obviously has his mail sent there. So what is his story and his connection there other than just stopping by?
Also,
Yeah.
17 years with this affair with Jenny, there's a strong chance he's Fleur's daddy,
There is, yeah.
which doesn't ever, again, because they don't explain any of that, it's never
Yeah.
even a possibility. But numbers wise, yeah, he could be.
Yeah.
Do you know what my favorite Orville moment is? There's a scene where Troy is talking to Barnaby about Barnaby's diet right in front of Orville, and you can just see Orville to the side of Troy sitting on the steps of his wagon, just with the most like, "What the fuck? Why would they talk about this in front of me? Don't they know I like to smack fatties?" Hey, Barnaby, smack, smack, smack. Put on some weight. Oh,
There's a lot about weight in this
yes.
one. And it's all about the guys, which is
Yes.
great.
Barnaby also, it's quite clear he likes the Smiths, even though he knows that they're criminal. He tends to think of them more as like petty little rascals
Yeah.
and more of like nuisances. But yeah, he's also kind of, yeah, I don't really like, just stay out of my way. We'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
What the heck was John making out of human hair? Was that jewelry?
It looked like some sort of jewelry or some sort of like, tchotchke of some sort, I don't,
Yeah.
keychain, I don't know. Does he attach them to keychains? Who knows?
Or earrings?
Or
Necklaces?
earrings or, things you hang on
I
your.
think Rachel will be wearing
know.
some of it. Speaking of Rachel, how long were she and Stefan really involved? Because they had only been there a couple of days.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they come to the area as part of their, regular rounds around the
But
country.
it clearly been a while because
Yeah.
Barnaby was introducing Troy to them.
Yeah.
Troy had never really dealt with them before, so it sounded like it had been a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't quite understand like how that relationship seemed to move really, really fast.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot of crime before this in this town and Martyr.
And Cully,
Mhm.
the only way to really get him into the story, more importantly, was Cully had to happen to go to school with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Dad, there's this guy. His name is Stephen Miller. He also lives in the area. He works at the store. He also he threatened to murder Hector. How do I know all this? Hi, Dad. I've got to go do an ad for tissues.
Yeah.
And then that scene where Barnaby, when they show up at Stefan's house and he runs out the door without a shirt on. Barnaby's like, "Yeah, we're just gonna search your place anyways. I know we
Yeah.
don't have a warrant, but thanks for giving us probable cause. See ya."
He left the door open? Come on. Yeah.
He's running from the police. That's a crime.
Yeah. And it's like he didn't even go out the back door. He went out the front door in between them. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I do think that was Rachel's. There was an interesting moment with Rachel kind of choosing between her brother or her lover, and she,
Mhm.
doing the family obligation.
Yeah.
And then Michael just says, like, I know you've just known this guy for 2 days, but why don't you go live with him? I'm sure this will work out great.
I do think that they've known each other for a longer time than that, but still, it just and it was kind of a nice.
But they don't
ending, though,
explain it. Like, again, they don't really explain that.
Yeah, it's one where just a touch of exposition would have helped this episode. I think in a few cases, any exposition in this
Yep.
game.
Maybe a little less like hunting of gooses and more of like explaining family dynamics.
Yeah, well, like I said, I could have done less with the diet and more with the actual murder.
Let's check in real fast with the Tisdales because they're kind of in the episode, but they're kind of not. Like Fairfax is more in the episode. He's kind of like part of them because he's with Felicity. Or is he? Because Felicity tries to flirt with Barnaby and like grabs his hand and giving him very clear signals.
Oh yeah.
And Barnaby is like, I mean, you've got cake, so this is fine.
I will rethink my marital vows because you have cake. Yep. What I found interesting and is after they shoot the guys stealing the pigs, other than being a clue as to Fairfax knew where that gun was and could have they don't look to see who was injured. Somebody was apparently injured, and we never hear about this injured person again.
Yep. It's not mentioned at all ever. We never see any of the main people limping. It is it is a contrivance to get a gun in and get Fairfax shooting someone, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it plays no. It's they're throwing a lot of bits in to. They're throwing a lot of bits in, but they're not making like the most coherent story out of it. Or at least put it this way, the most interesting story.
Yeah.
I also thought at the moment, and he's like chastising him, and I'm like, I guess there's no stand your ground law in UK. I don't like they were stealing, they were trespassing on the like in the US. They're trespassing your property. It's all fair game.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that Tilly is the only one who really seemed to like or mourn Hector. And I was like, that is not a great statement about Tilly.
No. And really, she's not a likable character, though you do feel for her when she's overhearing her sister Felicity talk about her and how she would never have allowed her to have a relationship with Hector because she was the one who was really in charge, even though it looks like Tilly is. Because she seems more forceful as a personality, and it is. I actually wish we had spent more time with them because I thought that was a very interesting sister dynamic. You have Tilly, who is this strong personality and who feels like, she's the one in charge, but Felicity, seems more feminine and softer, but she's working a lot more subtly in what she's doing.
Yes,
and kudos to both actresses there.
They really didn't do anything other than like serve some plot information, right?
Yeah. They were kind of info dump people, and they should have been
suspects,
stronger suspects. Yeah.
Corner. We had a couple of Bullard moments that one seemed very in character, where he comments on Barnaby's weight.
Yeah.
John, you're getting a little porky there. We smack your belly there.
A lot of belly smacking.
And then there's a scene where Bullard, at the first murder, Bullard comments that he knows Jenny for some reason.
Yeah.
And that is literally goes nowhere.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. He never, like, Barnaby never goes to Bullard and say, hey, what can you tell me about Jenny?
Hey, Bullard, what can you explain to me about this wife swapping?
Yeah. That would have been far more interesting than, to repeat myself, the diet.
Yes, and it would have been actually Bullard's purpose for a large part of these episodes, which is info dump.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have pointed out. It's weird that Bullard knows all this stuff, but at least we would have gotten that information.
Yeah.
Detective work. So there's a part of this hinges on the letter from Lampson that goes to Orville, and Orville will not talk to the detectives about his military service or how he knows Hector from it. And there's a constant thing that they will not get any information from the military itself. So they get the information from John Lamson's widow. However, they basically go through a list of people that served with Orville, and Troy's like, I don't know who to call, and Barnaby says, just pick one at random. And
and they happen.
Yes, they randomly picked the one person who could give them the info that they needed.
Yeah, if there had been I called several of these people, that would have made it much more plausible. Yeah.
Yes. It just struck me as like, so again, it's just this weird, just pick one. Like, okay, that's not how you detective.
No.
How are we going to solve this case? Well, I've got all the suspects on these boards, and I'm going to take this dart, and I'm going to throw it at the board, and whoever it hits, that's who we're going to investigate. Oh, it hit my wife Joyce's photo. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, the scene where Troy catches Orville and Jenny having sex. Why is he running like a man possessed and so thrilled, the smile on his face when he pulls back the curtain to watch two grown people having sex in front of him?
It was weird. It was like, just call your boss and say, hey, Jenny just went into Orville's caravan, and she's been in there for quite some time now, rather than running down the road and catching them in
not just catching them, running down like a man, like a bat out of hell, and then opening it up, and he's got this, I caught you, keep going. I'm just gonna watch here. It's like, we had a couple things with Troy driving. Number one, he again shows he's a bad driver, gets the car stuck. And then another thing is, like, they almost get hit by somebody as they're going into town. So they just park the car wherever it is. Which is not a parking spot. And then just walk a ways into town, which is in the middle of a chariot race.
Yeah.
Why? Did you think that Barnaby needs steps? Some other things I thought was weird was the Barnaby getting confused about the names of Hector's wives. Which would have been a great place to kind of get the exposition in.
Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah.
Yep. Troy's weird scene of having to count geese.
Yeah.
Which again felt like something that I do like. It's not like he won't admit it. Edgar Wright had to have watched a bunch of Midsomer episodes to get ready for Hot Fuzz. Had to, because there's a goose. There's a goose bit in that.
Yeah.
And then Troy makes the ultimate dad joke. Oh, I guess we've been on a wild goose chase.
Yeah.
I wanted Barnaby to reenact that Batman meme where he's like slapping Robin. He's like, no.
He does say somebody had to do it, and I knew it was going to be you. What I thought was weird was Barnaby had these odd moments where he puts his hands on people's shoulders. I noticed this especially with both Felicity and Orville, because they both kind of react oddly. And you never see that, and it's weird, and it's like extremely unprofessional to kind of touch the suspects that way.
No touchy.
Yeah.
No touchy, John. No touchy.
Yeah. And it just seemed weird. And I don't know if he was like, if they, again, we're early in the series and he's still filling out his character, but because
there's no more source material. Like, second season is all original. They've done the 3 episodes where they tried to have everything like have more of a Cabot Cove style feel. And they've quickly, I think, they kind of quickly abandoned that because, again, your village is going to be dead soon.
Yeah.
And so they're still trying to figure out, once you take the books away, what's the formula?
Yeah.
And they're still clearly figuring out. And I think this episode, if you want to treat these as sort of the second season as a lot of experiments, I think this is a failed experiment.
I think it's just, I think there's things that obviously don't work. And I think but I think there's also some these character bits with, Barnaby being kind of not great at his job
Yeah.
really in this one. And then obviously, there's some other things that are, a little off kilter about what happens later on with these characters.
Well, I think here's the thing. He's a bad detective in this. He's a great leader. The scene where Tom takes on Hector and shuts Hector down. That's the Tom Barnaby that we follow through the rest of Midsomer.
Yeah.
The scenes where Tom Barnaby is having to eat cabbage soup is not.
Yeah.
And let's just talk a little bit about this whole diet stuff, because it involves Troy and it involves his family, and it's all straight out of a sitcom.
Yeah.
So this all starts with the opening. They take Tom to a very fancy clothing store, and he's too fat to fit in the pants. and then he gets into a weird back and forth with the shopkeeper. When I was like, it's not the pants, it's because they don't have large in his size. And I'm like, okay, there's no need to be rude to the guy.
Yeah.
And then this kicks off this insane diet, which is just raw fruits, vegetables, cabbage soup, which has to be the worst smelling thing.
Yeah.
Like, one whole day where all you can eat is bananas. That isn't healthy in the slightest.
No, this is a terrible diet. Do not follow this diet. And it's being done by his daughter, who is not a licensed nutritionist, and his wife. Yeah. So, yeah. So it's it's played for laughs, and it just doesn't seem to fit with everything else that's going on.
It's just, they make Troy do this.
Yeah.
This isn't Troy's job.
No.
Right? In fact, Barnaby could just tell Troy, hey, I'm going to eat what I damn well please.
Yeah.
And if you try to tell my wife and Cully otherwise, I will have you doing goose duty for the rest of your natural born life.
Yeah.
But no, Troy is somehow now in charge of Barnaby's food, cutting up his apples to look like chips.
Yeah.
And like telling him, no, you can't have that Mars bar that's in the glove compartment. And I'm like, there's no way Barnaby throws his weight around at an insane level.
Yeah.
The way Barnaby treats his subordinates is there must be an HR file 2 inches thick about it.
Yeah, I mean, we see that in their reactions when they are not with him, when they're interviewing. When Jones finds out that Simon is sleeping with Cully, and I mean, we know that relationship, and Troy does not have the leverage to monitor his boss's diet. None of us do.
No.
They're our bosses.
He steals Barnaby's Mars bar and then acts so smug about it. Like, I got one over on him. It's like, he's going to make you pay.
Yeah.
How do you not know this?
Yeah.
The weirdest thing in an episode where Troy interacts with interacts with a gay character and doesn't make a slur.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that we haven't really gotten Troy's character down completely on this yet.
The most unbelievable thing is that Troy would do any of this, or that thinks that he could get away with. Like, it's insane. It's straight out of a sitcom. Yeah. And it's a huge chunk of this episode. Every time they went back to it, I was like, oh God, not this again.
Again, it's something we could have developed. They could have taken that chunk of time and fleshed out more of the backstory on and created, more stronger motives and everything with a lot of the suspects and the characters. And yeah, it detracted from what eventually could have been a very good episode. Yeah.
And they want to make it about Barnaby's vanity, right? Or is it his family's vanity about Barnaby? They want him to have a nice pair of trousers.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll go to Marks and Spencer's, which I'm guessing is like the Pennies.
Sears, Pennies. Yeah.
And so what? You can get decent pants at, like, I've been to department stores. There's expensive clothes there.
Yeah.
Why does he need these? It just was like, now they do set up that Barnaby has vanity,
Yeah.
which is a thing that is a carry through the episode, through the series. We have seen
Mm-hmm.
lots. We've talked about lots of little moments where
Mm-hmm.
Barnaby's like popping his chest or whatever. Like it's even in this episode where you see him in his PJs, but his
Mm-hmm.
PJs are like the top couple of buttons are popped open,
Yeah.
so we could just see his hairy chest.
She saw a lot of that in Bergerac.
But that's not how a sane person wears their PJs.
Yeah.
And we've set up the vanity and everything like that. And Barnaby, but this isn't ultimately about Barnaby's vanity. This is ultimately just Collie. It's ultimately trying to play the he's a good family man angle. He has a healthy family.
Yeah.
But this is a sitcom. This is like a My Three Dads plot, or My Two Dads, or My Three Sons, whatever. I mixed up my shows, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. However many dads somebody has. Yeah. And the thing is that one of the things we do like about both Barnabys is that they do have a very nicely centered home life. When it becomes too much of the focus that it detracts from the mystery angle,
Yes.
it interferes and it brings that episode down. And like I said, I think I actually do like this episode, but I think I could have done without that subplot, and I could have done with more development on the mystery. And sometimes they do that. They try to get too much into the home life, and it detracts from the mystery. And I really want more of a better developed mystery, because it's called, Midsomer Murders, not Midsomer Home Life,
not Midsummer Trouser Pants.
Yeah. I do like that these are two men who have happy marriages, that they have these places that they can go to where they feel safe and at home, and they have people who love them and that they love. That is a very important part of Midsomer and both Barnabys, but it can't detract from the main episode, the main thread of the episode.
They even doubled up on the family stuff because they also had the subplot about Cully's ad.
Yeah.
Which was like, oh, I'm just doing an ad for tissues. And then you find out it's an ad for these takeaway meals and cake or whatever. And it was like, and not only is the ad terrible, like I wouldn't buy any of that stuff. We didn't need this as well.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like, oh, I didn't want to tell you because I thought it would make you hungry.
Yeah.
And then she also uses the thing of just like at the end where he's getting in a fight again with the trouser salesman. And she stops him by reciting like, oh, I think the pub down the street has your favorite food. And I'm like, why do I feel like you're treating Barnaby like he's the character in a Looney Tunes that's starving on the boat and then looks at the guy on the other side? It's just sees a drumstick.
Yeah.
Like that's not what this show is.
Yeah. No, we want that healthy home life. We want that, we want those scenes where that center John both John and Tom, John later in his world, but don't make it the plot.
And I have one more question before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Towards the end, Tom calls the wake up service to give him a wake up call for 4 a.m. He is in his own home. Why doesn't he just set the alarm? Because a phone call is also going to wake everybody up.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think that he would have had that alarm clock that everybody had that are still in hotel rooms that still glow, and you have to cover them with a towel. But yeah, because everybody had those alarm clocks. I mean, maybe he never learned how to set it, which would make sense because a lot of us never could figure it out how to set them.
Well, it's a ridiculous moment that they did to set up the fact that he is going to interrogate these people at 6 a.m. the next day.
Yeah.
And could have easily have said, you know what? We're going to do a 6 a.m. interrogation and I'll tell you why. And then cut to the interrogation. Right?
Yeah.
Why would you get a wake up call for your own house?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe some people do. I would have set my alarm, or he could have said to Joyce, I'm going to be getting up at 4 a.m. for an early interview. Why don't we, you might want to put in your earplugs or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, like, oh, I'm worried about waking you up. Well, having a ringing phone, definitely most people sleep through that. All right, final thoughts.
Yeah. I know we kind of did drag this one a lot. When I get back to the
I'm
central
okay with that.
yeah, no. When I get back to the central mystery, I do actually like this story, and I do like what they do. I think it's got some great actors. I wish they had developed it a bit more, fleshed out some, a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, so that it felt more full and complete as a mystery. I think if they had done that, because it covers a lot of the really great themes that Midsummer covers, which is class and and obviously, who there's this whole underclass of people that, Barnaby knows are criminals but kind of turns a blind eye to, while dealing with, people who are very horrible, but they're rich, so, you know he knows how to deal with those people, and I like that aspect of it. I like that they brought in this subculture of the travelers, and I wish they'd kind of delved in a little bit more of that. But so, it's like, I think it's a miss because they could have done more with it.
This episode screams first draft.
Yeah.
Too much of the family, the diet comedy sitcom stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which just lands with a thud every time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, giant gaping, like they're doing lots of these weird little information throw-ins, as opposed to just like giving us like we're being told a lot of different little factoids and stuff like that, rather than learning it through discovery through story.
Yeah.
There is so much that's underdeveloped in here.
Mhm.
There's so much underexplained, and frankly, if you're going to have a massive wife swapping
Yeah.
thing in your story, you need to explain it. It
Yeah.
needs to make sense. This makes, not only does it, like, it does not make sense of how they swapped. It does not make sense why they are living next door to each other still. It doesn't, like, none of this. It just felt like first draft, best draft.
Yeah.
and yeah, and I was bored large portions of it. There are moments that's great. Anytime Kevin McNally came on, it was
Yeah.
great. I do think the scenes with Barnaby and Hector were great. In fact, the guy who played Hector did a really fantastic job, because he created a really good bad guy.
Yeah.
And that scene at the end where you see him kind of threatening Fleur felt scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are great moments in this it's just stitched together with stuff that makes with no plot holes. Like, also, for example, why did the Smiths leave?
Mm-hmm.
They have not solved their beloved grandpa's murder yet.
Yeah.
Why do they don't care? They care enough to go and threaten to try to murder Stefan. They don't care enough to stick around.
I agree that it feels like they were rushed to get it done, and so they didn't fill out what they should have filled out, and they put in a lot of stuff they didn't need in there. And so somewhere in an alternate universe where they had that time, there's a much better version of this episode.
They have the time. The episode's an hour and 45 minutes.
Well, I mean, as far as maybe they were rushed to get it done, for filming purposes. I don't know.
And that is quite possible, because they had
Yeah.
more episodes back then, and they're
Yeah.
doing longer episodes, and it still required a lengthy shooting schedule.
Yeah.
But at an hour and 45 minutes,
Yeah.
where they also don't have to do a ton of setup to the main characters, because we already, who Barnaby is established.
Yeah.
Troy and the family, all that stuff's established.
Yeah.
So all you really have to do is establish the characters and the suspects in the mystery.
Yeah.
And none of them, like I guess they're all suspects.
Mm-hmm.
Barnaby didn't seem to really think. Barnaby didn't seem to care. Like it, I think that's kind of what it is. Barnaby walks through this episode and kind of doesn't seem to care.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he's starving and really grumpy.
Yeah.
But it just seems like he's treating everyone so kind of, I don't know. It just I didn't feel like he was that bothered to solve the murder of a local magistrate.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big deal.
Yeah.
and nothing felt like a big deal in this.
Yeah. I can see that. I can also see that maybe he didn't really care who killed Hector because he didn't like him, you know.
But he's done that before. He has to solve the murders of a lot of people he doesn't like.
Yeah. And I think, you know, and I don't mind if there's a slow build up to the murder. You know, they've done that before. Yeah. I'm fine with that because it does have set things up nicely. You know, when you know your formula, you can break your formula and do it well. This one, they haven't quite got the formula down yet.
Yes.
And they're breaking it. And so they don't flesh out a lot of things that they should have fleshed out.
They were figuring out what is Midsomer without the books.
Yeah. And like I said, I like this episode almost in spite of itself because I like the characters. Kevin McNally, Phila DeLaw, you know, these are really terrific actors. Jessen, who played Hector. You know, there's some really great character actors in here, and they do a great job. And I wish they had been given more to do.
Yes, there's great moments or good moments.
Yeah,
but not enough for me to think that this is like there's better there's better episodes in this series, and this one just like and I do believe as the series goes on they get back on track. It's just that this one just felt like, well, why don't we try a Midsomer that's like this?
Yeah,
and like I hope they did it, and then when they were done they go, we'll never do that again.
Yeah, I think it's saved for me by the actors and by those moments that we get, because I do think that those moments do work nicely.
Well, that's everything that we wanted to talk about. If you had anything you want to discuss about Blood Will Out or Midsomer Murders, feel free to email us at welcometomidsomer@gmail.com. Now, if you want us to use the email in the show, please say so in your email. We are also Welcome to Midsomer on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Feel free to follow us in all these places. Now, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to us or rating and reviewing us on iTunes and Spotify and YouTube. All of these really help people find us. Tell all your friends about us. We're going to be back soon, and we hope you will join us again. And as we take the road out of Midsomer, we want to thank you for listening and remind you that in Midsomer, stealing a goose can be murder.
And usually is, especially if they're those Canada goose, the little murder chickens. Big murder chickens.
Like, there's I don't know why you're bringing this up at the end of the episode, because that's like a whole thing, and now we don't have time for it.
You've never been chased by a Canada goose.
No.
You can leave out the part about the Canada goose.
I'm leaving this in. Welcome to Midsomer is produced by Eric Buscher and Eileen Becker. All clips in this podcast are used in compliance with the U.S. Copyrights Act fair use exception for criticism and commentary. Our logo and podcast art was designed by Smeedrai. Our theme music is by the infamous Space.